Hello and welcome to the second part of the Planes series, and today we will be taking a look at the Supermarine Spitfire. So let's begin! The Supermarine Spitfire is a British single-seat fighter aircraft that was used by the Royal Air Force and many other Allied countries during and after the Second World War. The Spitfire was built in many variants, using several wing configurations, and was produced in greater numbers than any other British aircraft. It was also the only British fighter to be in continuous production throughout the war. The Spitfire continues to be a popular aircraft, with approximately 53 Spitfires being airworthy, while many more are static exhibits in aviation museums all over the world. The Spitfire was designed as a short-range, high-performance interceptor aircraft by R.J. Mitchell, chief designer at Supermarine Aviation Works, which operated as a subsidiary of the Vickers Armstrong from 1928. In accordance with its role as an interceptor, Mitchell designed the Spitfire's distinctive elliptical wing to have the thinnest possible cross-section. This thin wing enabled the Spitfire to have a higher top speed than several contemporary fighters, including the Hawker Hurricane. Mitchell continued to refine the design until his death from cancer in 1937, whereupon his colleague Joseph Smith took over as chief designer, overseeing the development of the Spitfire through its multitude of variants. During the Battle of Britain, July to October 1940, the Spitfire was perceived by the public to be the RAF fighter, though the more numerous Hawker Hurricane shouldered a greater proportion of the burden against the Luftwaffe. However, because of its higher performance, Spitfire units had a lower attrition rate and a higher victory-to-loss ratio than those flying Hurricanes. After the Battle of Britain, the Spitfire superseded the Hurricanes to become the backbone of RAF Fighter Command and saw action in the European, Mediterranean, Pacific and the Southeast Asian theatres. Much loved by its pilots, the Spitfire served in several roles, including interceptor, photo reconnaissance, fighter bomber and trainer, and it continued to serve in these roles until the 1950s. The Seafire was a carrier-based adaptation of the Spitfire, which served in the Fleet Air Arm from 1942 through to the mid-1950s. Although the original airframe was designed to be powered by a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine producing 1,030 horsepower, is it horsepower? It's horsepower, I think. Yeah, it's horsepower. Just missing the P off it, so I can't tell what it is, but it's horsepower. Or 768 kilowatts. It was strong enough and adaptable enough to use increasingly powerful Merlin and, in later marks, Rolls-Royce Griffon engines, producing up to 2,340 horsepower or 1,745 kilowatts. As a consequence of the Spitfire's performance and capabilities, the Spitfire's performance and capabilities improved, sometimes dramatically, over the course of its life. The operational history of the Spitfire with the RAF started with the first Mark 1s K9789, which entered service with 19 Squadron at RAF Duxford on 4th August 1938. The Spitfire achieved legendary status during the Battle of Britain, a reputation aided by the famous Spitfire Fund, organised and run by Lord Beaverbrook. The fuck? The Minister of Aircraft Production. In fact, the Hurricane outnumbered the Spitfire throughout the battle and shouldered the burden of the defence against the Luftwaffe. However, because of its higher performance, the overall attrition of the Spitfire squadrons was lower than that of the Hurricane units, and the Spitfire units had a higher victory-to-loss ratio. The key aim of Fire Command was to stop the Luftwaffe bombers. In practice, the tactic, whenever possible, was to use Spitfires to counter German escort fighters, particularly the Bf-109s, while the Hurricane squadrons attacked the bombers. Well-known Spitfire pilots included Johnny Johnson, 34 enemy aircraft shot down, who flew the Spitfire right through his operational career from late 1940 to 1945. Douglas Bader and Bob Tuck flew Spitfires and Hurricanes during the major air battles of 1940, and both were shot down and became prisoners of war while flying Spitfires over France in 1941 and 1942. Paddy Finucane scored all his successes in the fighter before disappearing over the English Channel in July 1942. Some notable Commonwealth pilots were George Beurling from Canada, Sailor Milan from South Africa, New Zealanders Alan Deere and C.F. Gray, and the Australian Hugo Armstrong. The Spitfire continued to play increasingly diverse roles throughout the Second World War and beyond, often in air forces other than the RAF. The Spitfire, for example, became the Supermarine Spitfire, for example, became the first high-speed photo reconnaissance aircraft to be operated by the RAF. Sometimes unarmed, they flew at high, medium and low altitudes, often ranging far into enemy territory to closely observe the Axis powers and provide almost continual flow of valuable intelligence information throughout the war. In 1941 and 1942, PRU Spitfires provided the Get out! Idiot. Do not walk in the middle of a video. Get out! Get out! Just piss off! PRU Spitfires provided the first photographs of the Freya and Würzburg radar. Get the fuck off that. Radar systems, and in 19... Fucking hell! And in 1943 helped confirm that the Germans were building the V1 and V2 Vergeltungswaffe or vengeance weapons by photographing Peenemünde on the Baltic Sea coast of Germany. In the Mediterranean, the Spitfire blunted the heavy attacks on Malta by the Regia Aeronautica and Luftwaffe. From early 1943 helped pave the way for the Allied invasions of Sicily and Italy on 7th March 1942, 15 Mark V's carrying 90-gallon fuel tanks under their bellies took off from HMS Eagle off the coast of Algeria on a 600-mile flight to Malta. Those Spitfire 5s were the first to see service outside Britain, over the Northern Territory of Australia. RAAF and RAF Spitfires helped defend the port town of Darwin against air attack by the Japanese Naval Air Force. The Spitfire also served on the Eastern Front. Approximately 1,000 were supplied to the Soviet Air Force, though some were used at the front line in 1943. 1943. Most of them saw service with the Protivo-Vostochная Obrona, or the English version of it, anti-air defense branch. Spitfire Mark 8s took part in the last battle of World War II, involving the Western Allies in Burma as a ground attack role, helping to defeat a Japanese breakout attempt. During the Second World War, Spitfires were used by the USAAF in the 4th Fighter Group until replaced by the Republic P-47 Thunderbolts in March 1943. The Spitfire is listed in the appendix to the novel KG-200 as known to have been regularly flown by the German Secret Operations Unit KG-200, which tested, evaluated and sometimes clandestinely captured enemy aircraft during the Second World War. There are approximately 55 Spitfires and a few Seafires in airworthy condition worldwide, although many air museums have examples on static display. For example, Chicago's Museum of Science and Industry has paired a static Spitfire with a static Ju-87 R2 Trop Stuka dive bomber. The oldest surviving Spitfire is a Mark I, serial number K9942. It is preserved at the Royal Air Force Museum, Cosford, in Shropshire. This aircraft was the 155th built and first flew in April 1939. It flew operationally with number 72 Squadron RAF until June 1940. Breathe. I'm gonna kill my brother after this. When it was damaged in a wheels-up landing after repair, it was used for training until August 1944, when it became one of several Battle of Britain aircraft veterans that were allocated to the Air Historical Branch for future museum preservation. What may be the most originally restored Spitfire in the world is maintained in airworthy condition at Fantasy of Flight in Polk City, Florida. Over a 6-year period in the 1990s, the aircraft was slowly restored by Personal Plane Services in England, using almost 90% of its original aircraft skins. Owner Kermit Weeks insisted that the aircraft be restored to original condition as closely as possible. Machine guns, cannon, gun sight and original working radios were all installed. Anyway, that's all for this video. It's gonna take a fucking decade to upload this, as things do. I'm gonna kill my brother, but anyway, that's all for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and as always, subscribe.